This episode contains sensitive conversations such as the topic of self-harm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Four Dead Losers podcast. We're the Four Dead Losers. I'm Ramito.
Adam.
Justin.
And Amanda.
And today we're going to be talking about the medium.
Medium.
The medium,
the road.
Quick, short, spoiler-free synopsis of the movie. It's essentially filmed as a documentary, and the producers they're researching like different religions, different groups, right? Like
religious groups that have their own different belief system, and a lot of which is like worshiping a certain deity or how they
worshiping a certain deity. And so the entirety of the movie takes place in Indonesia. Essentially, what happens is that like the group has like a certain way where they decide, or their deity decides who's next in line to be picked as their shaman, the head of the church or what have you. And they think that one person has been selected, and we see what happens.
Wait, they were researching other religions?
Yeah, they just happen to stumble. Like, I mean, it's on their stop, right?
Mm-hmm. Spoiler-free thoughts. What did you think?
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie, but I honestly thought it just was way too long. There was definitely some moments I wasn't all that thrilled with. I think in the moment I thought it was a little bit better, and then as I sat and really dwelled on it, I was like, you know what, it was okay. It had good scary moments. It had good moments of creating just tension. But just a lot of reuse things with certain aspects of the movie that they did, and I thought that they also, just way too long of a movie. They could have shortened that up a lot, and I think could have gotten the same thing, if not better product.
Yeah, so for context, the movie clocks in at about 2 hours, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 15, somewhere in there. So it's a pretty lengthy movie. What did you think, Justin?
I liked it. I thought it was a really good movie. At first, I agree. I thought it was too long, and I still think it was also too long, but kind of the opposite of what he did. After I reflected on it some more, I actually kind of appreciated the movie more as I kind of looked into the themes and stuff that the movie actually had, and not just kind of looking at it as far as something to scare you. Mm-hmm. So,
Amanda?
I don't know how I feel about it. I thought it was okay. I don't like watching movies where you have to read subtitles. I just stray away from those all the time. And the fact that this movie was 2 hours long and I had to read for that long,
Is it because you can't?
She's like, I don't read.
No, it's just because it's one of those things where if I have to step away for a second, I miss the dialogue, right? And then
you miss a lot, yeah.
But other than that, I did think the footage that they were recording from inside of the house was pretty cool. But honestly, the beginning of the movie all the way into the funeral where our main character starts acting weird, I think that could have all been cut out.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the movie would have been shorter, and I probably would have liked it more had it been shorter. Half the length. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with all these points. Maybe not so much y'all two. Y'all seem to have, different ends of the spectrum. But I feel like we kind of dwelled on the movie length a little bit. I completely agree with that. Too long. Could have trimmed off a lot of places. At first, when we were watching it, I was like, oh wow, this is kind of good. And then the length just got me, and I was like, I started getting fatigued after an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I kind of actually maybe I could agree with both of y'all. I kind of found a middle ground with the movie. Yes, it was a little bit too long, but there were points in the movie where I was because Amanda, Adam, and I saw it together, and there were points in the movie where I was like, ooh, that's scary, and stuff like that. I said that out loud.
Yeah. The girl who played the main character, she did really good, and I feel like that won a lot of points.
Yeah, she's a very good actress. I feel like a lot of people, almost everybody in the movie was actually really good.
It did feel real, honestly. We were watching a real documentary in the making.
Anybody that was bad.
I think it was a live, actual, real documentary. Nobody knew they were in it. Except for the 2 or 3 main characters, right? They were what are you doing? Get out of here!
But yeah, so at the end of the day, I think personally, I was fatigued watching it. 1 out of 10, I would have given it probably a 6.5, somewhere in there.
Okay, I would have probably given it about 6.5, 7, just because the good stuff was really good, and you again, like you pointed out, the actress I thought did a really, really good job. And you know, the where it lacked was again just certain things that you know, made the movie too long, but also some things that we'll get into at the end that I just was like, I'm not really a fan of that, and I thought that kind of actually took away from the movie. So it just started actually losing points as the movie went on. I'm like, okay, now you're losing it on me. So
originally I think I was gonna give it a 6, but I kind of bumped it up to an 8. I think it was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think it was really good. Like I said, I looked into it a lot because the ending was a little bit weird to me, so I did a little bit of research on it and kind of got what other people thought, and it kind of put things into perspective of what they were trying to go for. So knowing that, it really made it a good movie for me.
As just like the normal average consumer who just watched the movie and didn't look into it afterwards, I'd probably give it like, I would say a 5 or a 6 out of 10. It wasn't my favorite watch ever, and honestly, I've been talking to Ramiro about this movie for quite a long time. I feel like I was making it, in my head, I was giving it like a high bar to reach, because every time I saw it, it was like, this is the scariest movie.
I think we've been talking about it since it came out in like 2022 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I finally saw it, and I was like, I kind of expected more. But I mean, I thought it was good. I think my numerical rating would be higher if they focused more on the actual, like, original religious group that they were focusing on. Because whenever, like, our main character came in and she started acting weird, of course there were some, like, themes that paralleled to, what was her name? The
Bayan?
Bayan is the god. You're talking about Nim?
Yeah, Nim. Like, I thought they were going to focus more on Nim and, like, their ceremonies in the forest and how their group acts. And, of course, there were some parallels, but we got a lot more of Mink, right, than we did Nim. And I thought it was going to be the other way around.
So we're going to go ahead and get to our spoiler section. So if you don't want any spoilers, this is your warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the movie starts off. Just like every other movie we've taken in so far, they have this giant lore dump, right?
Yeah.
They just choose to put theirs at the beginning, which I kind of appreciate. They basically give like the whole rundown about this particular group's point of view and stuff like that. So we get a lot of like, I think they say that there's spirits inside of everything, and like there's no like human, animal, whatever kind of spirits. Like they don't really differentiate. They're just kind of like they live everywhere.
Even like
everything
plants have spirits too.
And so the religious group that we get introduced to, they worship a deity called Bayan, and the shaman who's the head of this group, her name is Nim, and we. I feel like there's a little bit of a little funniness going on here. Not funny like suspicious, but funny like haha. Because there's a point where the producers are like, oh, so like people come to you for healing, right? And Min is like,
I can't cure cancer.
Yeah, Min is like, yeah, if you come to me with cancer, you're gonna die. Yeah. Like I can't heal that. Yeah. But she says that she heals illnesses from the unseen. Yeah. And so that's
Black
something.
Magic illness.
Yeah, stuff like that. And so that's something. That's a theme that kind of gets, it gets kind of dropped in the beginning as a little like, a little dip in the pool, but it actually is a lot more significant later on. We also get told that Nim herself says that she didn't want the responsibility, right? It was one that was given to her by Bayan. Nim, after we get her little spiel, we also get introduced to Noi, Mink's mom. I'm not sure how to quite pronounce her name, but in the subtitles they spell it Noi.
I thought that was a sister.
It's Mink's mom.
Oh, Mink's mom. Okay,
yeah,
I think you said Nim's mom.
No, it's Mink's mom, but Nim's sister. Yeah, and we find out that her husband's dead, right? Which is, tragic. I don't remember quite how he died. And the reason why I don't remember is because they go into his family history, and every single male in that friggin' family tree is dead.
Yeah, everybody.
It confused me too.
They even said that. They were like, every man in this family has a tragic death. Like I think Nim says that.
Yeah.
Which it is important to mention though, the grandfather, right, is the one that burned the factory to get insurance. Was
Insurance
caught,
money.
And then he
took his own life. Yeah.
Yes.
And then Mink's dad, so Noi's husband, passed away. I don't remember how exactly. And then Mink's brother, Mink is our main character. Mink's brother, Noi's son, also passed away. So I think
What's his name?
I didn't catch his name. Oh wait, I think
They mention it later.
later on in the movie they do mention it. I think it's like Max or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when they mention it, I have it in my notes. But he supposedly passed away in a car accident. And so we have a funeral. The movie, when we get kind of away from this lore dump and into the family tree, the background, or I guess like what's going on in the camera is they're having a funeral for Mink's dad. We get like a little bit of a view of their traditions, right? Like they have like a shrine, and they're like going up to, I think, like his casket and stuff like that, and leaving like different gifts and all that, stuff. And then the night kind of comes down to a close, and like there's a few groups that are kind of sitting around, right? And then like
I think they're like playing games.
yeah, they're like playing games, like card
socializing,
games.
hanging out, and stuff like that. I guess
Yeah.
it's like a thing that they do, right?
Yeah.
Not celebrate, but like they just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of gather, like family kind of thing. It's like
Yeah,
a family
yeah.
gathering or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Even the brother tells Nim, right? He's like, "You don't talk to your family anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah. And so during this, like, in the wind down era of this little funeral, Mink gets into an argument, right, with somebody. Basically, the person that she's arguing with, like, Mink claims that this person, like,
Her uncle or something, right?
I don't
It's like
remember
one of
who
her
it
uncles.
is.
I don't know.
Something,
It was just
yeah.
some dude in the group.
Yeah, I thought it was just some.
That was her uncle.
I mean, you might be right.
Yeah.
But basically that, like, she heard him say, like, call her, curse words and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, I think her exact wording is like, "You cursed at me" or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And she, like, gets upset. And
He's like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Was it me?
yeah,
Even
the guy-
everybody else is saying like nobody
Yeah.
said anything. And
Yeah.
she's like, no, yeah, he did.
yeah, this is the first, like, kind of seedling, right, that we get
Yeah.
of, like, there's maybe
Something off.
something off, right? Because everybody else is saying that they didn't hear anything, but Mink is, like, very insistent that he did say something. After that kind of goes, we follow Nim again and the producers of this macro documentary that we're watching are following Nim, and she's like has a little bed set up, right, a little tent and stuff like that. I think it's in the same temple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they like
it's
sleep
like
there.
area.
They all sleep there or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And so, like, she opens it's like a little, like, mosquito net is what it looks like. And she goes ahead and she opens it, and, like, she looks to the side, and Nim sees Mink, and she's, like, standing up or sitting up or something.
Staring.
Yeah, and she's staring. And so, like, us, the audience, were like, what the heck is she staring at? And of course the camera goes ahead and shows us, and there's this blind old woman,
Yeah.
like, staring back at her, right? And so it was just kind of like, what the heck? Like, how do you know that she's there, right? So,
Yeah.
like, this is another kind of spooky, scary stuff going on. And they like stare at each other, I think, on camera for like a good, like, minute, right?
Yeah,
While
it is a
Nim is
while.
trying to get her attention. And
She's being unresponsive.
yeah, she's being completely irresponsive until finally, like, a minute and a half passes by, and the lady walks away, and Mink just goes to bed like nothing happened. And so we're just kind of like, that was kind of weird. And then we wake up the next morning, and right away we're hit with the information that the old lady, like the same lady who was staring at Mink, she passed away during the night. And we don't know, like, we have no context about what happened or anything, just that she had passed during the night or in her sleep, one of those two. And so the camera at this point, what we see on screen is like them loading, I think it's like a gurney, right, into like the back of a car. And there's a crowd gathered around, and Mink is like off outside of the crowd, just kind of staring at it. And Nim, like, kind of says, "Hey, you good? Like, what's up, homie?" And she, again, completely unfazed, and so she walks away. And we follow Mink to, like, around a corner, right? And she's like,
Staring at a wall or something.
yeah, she's staring at a
Acting
wall.
weird.
Because she like glitches, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
producers like zoom in on
Oh
it.
yeah,
and
because she's like standing there and she like does that like that thing,
Yeah.
like the head twitch.
The head
Yeah.
twitch, yeah. I think, like, I wrote down that it looked like she sneezed, but like
She sneezed.
it came out. That's what it looked like.
It did, yeah, it did look like that.
But right away, right, Nim is like, something's up. And so the very next thing that she does is she goes, so Nim goes straight into Mink's room and just like, no privacy, right? Just barges in.
Just going through everything.
Just going through everything, yeah. Open up all the drawers, all these other things. And so she opens up the closet. And in the closet, she finds like a wreath, right? That's like made out of, it looks like
It kind of looks like a
coil.
dream catcher, right?
It's like, that's
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a dream catcher, kind of.
So Nim is like, what the heck is this? And Noi, I think, walks into the room and she's like, hey, what are you doing going through Mink's things, XYZ? And she's like, what is this? And then
I think she tells her like,
Yeah,
do
she,
you know?
she,
Like,
yeah,
do
do
you
you
know
know?
what
Like
this
she like
is?
knows what it is, and she's like,
yeah,
kind of scolding her for like, you know.
For it
She's
being
like she
there.
kind of already knows. I feel like she already knows kind of something's off with Mink.
yeah.
Because that thing was used to what? Ward spirits?
Yeah, protect people from evil, is what they say. So again, ooh, spooky, scary. Like we get little things coming up. And then Mink comes in and she's like, the heck are you doing in my room? The producers decide to go ahead and interview Mink. And we're having like a little bit of dialogue between the two of them. And one of the questions that the producers ask her is about like the blind woman. And she has no recollection of what
Is
they're
this
talking
when they're
about.
walking? Like when she's walking on the trail? Sorry, I got us sidetracked. I don't know. If
No, you're
that's
fine.
the part we're on.
I mean, it's
I
all
was,
kind
I
of.
was looking ahead to see if
It's
it
all
was.
kind of like.
I was halfway asleep at that point.
Like this thing was like this whole section right here. Like honestly, like the whole first hour could have been condensed by like.
Yeah, I think
30
we
Oh, yeah.
paused it at one point
Yeah.
because Amanda was trying to get her Apple hookup at like 11 o'clock at night. And then I saw it and I was like, how do we have an hour and a half still left or something like that? I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, like the part we're talking about is probably already an hour and a half into the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So the producers essentially like we get like the screen is black and we get text and it's essentially like narrating what's going on in the producers' minds kind of. And so at this point the producers think that Mink is next in line to receive Bayan inside of her. And so they decide to make her essentially the main focus of the documentary and capture the transition on camera. So that way they're there for like the entire process. And so, of course, this is when we get another lore dump, right? We get different interviews with like Mink's family members. One of the first people that they talk to is Mink's mom, Noi. And she basically tells the producers that she was actually, Noi was actually supposed to receive Bayan inside of her. And
Christianity.
yeah, so
She didn't want to become a shaman.
yeah. So she didn't want that responsibility. It seems like it's not a very good thing to initially receive. But if you're chosen by Bayan, you're like there's no getting out of it.
Exactly.
And so, like to give you kind of an example of what like the first steps of the process are, Noi basically describes the feeling of having Bayan try to enter as having her period every day for months at a time.
It's a lot of sickness.
Yeah,
Just
it's a lot of
everything-
sickness. Like
just things like it's awful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so after that little mention is when we get the information that that's when she converted to Christianity and didn't want anything to do with that. We have a few more little dialogue things. The producers then talked to one of Mink's friends. I didn't catch her name, but it wasn't really.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't really relevant.
Yeah, they're like at a club partying it up. Woo, that kind of stuff. And the friend shows the producers like videos of Mink acting like weird, right? Like she's like at a kid's playground, like pushing a little girl.
Oh, that was the best one.
Yeah.
She straight up like the kid was like there at the wall. She was whack and I was like, dang.
And she thinks it's funny, right? She starts laughing.
Well, because it makes it like she's like childlike, right? Like it's like
a
an
symptom
infant.
or something.
Yeah.
They didn't even freaking tell the kids. They just put her down. They're just like, go push that kid over.
The kid's reactions was real.
Yeah. Well, the first time when she pushed the first one, like, which was the hard one, like, didn't even react. He was like, what just happened? Okay. And the second one, she did it again. He was like, the classic cry, right?
Yeah.
The little cry.
That's funny. And so after we get that footage, we follow Mink leaving the club, and they're just kind of walking in like a market or something like that.
This is like a thing. This is one thing that I thought was really weird about like the filming, because like it was supposed to be a documentary, but some of these like angles that they filmed at made it seem really like bizarre. It didn't feel like a documentary, you know, like they were filming them from afar, like they were trying to hide. But like in a normal documentary, don't you think you'd just be trailing the person?
Oh yeah, well I think too they're just trying to get interesting,
B-roll.
interesting shots. So like I did like that one where he did the side where you had the, like you were saying, the market, and so she was on one side of the market, you know, booth, and then they were on the other side and they were following. I think at one point something weird happened right as they crossed a pole or something for like a split second, and then she was just like getting mad at them. She's like, "Stop following me!" You know,
you're right. She was
like drunk basically.
I still thought it was weird. Even like some like stationary angles, like they were just like from far away. They looked very like stalkerish, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't watch documentaries. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I watch documentaries just like you're saying, B-roll, and
you
know you got to sometimes cheese it, or not cheese it up, but like make it interesting, right? Like you got to
like
get the best angles.
Yeah.
And so they eventually follow Mink to this office building, and she walks right in and falls asleep at a bench, right?
I think it's already known that's her workplace. I think that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's her workplace. Yeah.
So my whole thing was like they didn't lock the doors.
Yeah.
Like
My other thing was like, if like you as the producer of the documentary, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, you should go home. You're drunk. Go home."
Yeah.
Like,
They were just like
let her stay there.
Yeah.
The best one was they opened the door and everybody just walked in like normal and nobody woke her up. Like she was asleep on the bench, and then she wakes up and she's like, "What?" And then literally all the people are just like
staring at her.
Yeah. So Adam's referring to the next morning. So yeah, exactly like you're saying. They walk again. Like I could have sworn that they used keys to open the door, or am I just making that up?
Keys. I'm pretty sure she did. Yeah, because she had to get into the door, and then that had to. Yes, it was unlocked and locked because when they came in the morning, we had all the people waiting because there's like a what is it? It's like a work volunteer station.
It's like a recruitment center.
Yeah, they
she
assign
assigns,
jobs to people.
So like, but still, like the door was unlocked when she went to sleep, but it's locked when she woke up. Who locked it?
She has keys. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
No.
Well, based off like later on, like scenes later on, like it can't be really like hard to get in. You know,
They just
When
they don't lock the door.
Yeah, they just don't lock the doors. I guess they just lock it sometimes.
Whatever they feel like.
Whenever they feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the crowd gets in and they're just kind of like, what the heck's wrong with you? Like they can tell she didn't brush her teeth that morning.
Yeah.
And then
the boss, right? Just wash your face and go to work. No, what? I was like, who says that?
yeah.
The real boss.
Yeah, real boss.
The real boss. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
And then we take a very large like divergence from the little comedy section of everybody being like, "Why are you here?" And she starts bleeding from her lady bits.
Ooh, that made me feel like.
Yeah, it was.
No, it was like profuse. It wasn't
that's what
like
I'm saying.
talking like spotting. It was like
It was very like. I don't know. It was
like
kind of
Terrifier, like Terrifier 2,
Bruh.
the pale girl.
Yeah.
Ooh, the pale girl in the laundromat.
Yeah. Every time I see stuff like that, it makes me feel like. Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty
And
gross.
she just just all over the place, runs to the restroom, and then the guy's the cameraman's still trying to film. Like, in the restroom.
She cracks the restroom door open.
Like, bro, what is wrong with these people?
They want to catch the thing on camera, I guess. I don't know. It's the B-roll.
The B-roll.
Puts it in the van, right?
Oh man. And so after that, we get a little bit more of like Mink symptoms, and she's basically having the same ones that her mom had, right? When her mom was being chosen for Bayan. So we start like seeing more and more of like Mink's spiral, right? And that's what this entire like
Middle
section is. So like the first, I think that basically covers the first like 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the next like hour and 20 minutes is basically Mink's downfall until we get to the very end where like things just go off the rails.
It's kind of funny to know because like actually like you could tell like, and it's kind of like almost at the hour mark when the movie kind of takes a shift into a new direction. Like I looked at it too because I remember I paused it at one point when like I want to say I can't remember, but it started getting like pretty weird like right at the hour mark. That's when like things started to pick up immensely from like the stale beginning. It wasn't stale, but it was just it dragged. Like I said, the movie would have been a lot better if they cut out so much from the beginning.
Yeah,
I think the ending was fine.
Yeah, so this next scene is we basically have Mink. She's on a bus and they're going somewhere, and she slaps the crap out of this old lady.
Yeah,
was that necessary?
That was funny, I guess.
Well, wasn't she like coughing and the lady said something to her?
She thought she. So this was the thing. This is what I think she was hearing. Like outside of everything, she was hearing the voice of Bayan, and she kept hearing that in other. That's one of the things. Like I don't know if people like caught, but the voice, like even the voice she was hearing from like the very beginning, was probably the voice of Bayan. And she would hear it in other people. She would think, she was trying to rationalize it.
Yeah.
Whether she thought it was good or not. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think it was Bayan. I actually think it was probably like...
It's definitely something else.
Well, yeah, she said like, I forgot the exact phrasing, but something along the lines of like, you should be taking care of yourself or something like that. And I don't know why. She just overreacted, flipped, right?
I think you're right.
And they like, hey, get off the thing. And
they push her off the bus?
Bro, it wasn't even a bus. It was like a back of a truck.
Yeah.
Like, it literally like...
It was like their cargo. It was like their bus. I think
their cargo truck, and they're just all right. Now we're gonna get you off now. And she like accepted it, but then started cursing. You can't do this to me, and like gently walks off. Like,
but I think this is when we start to see that she, I guess, is possessed, right? Because when she gets off the bus, when she goes to sit on the bench, she seems confused as to why she was even pushed off the bus.
Yeah.
Like I think this is when that starts when she's clicking in and out of it.
Yeah. So right after that. Min starts to like question Mink about like what's going on and all these other things, and it's starting to come out, right? Like Nim is starting to put the pieces together, like she's next in line to be the shaman.
Yeah, because the repeated question that Nim keeps asking her is like, "Are you hearing people talk to you?" Because she's asked her that multiple times up to this point, and Noi would be like, "Get away from her! Like, don't ask her that. What is she asking you?" So yeah, like I think she's starting to put two and together and think that Binyam is like trying to get in her.
Yeah, and so just like Amanda's saying, in this conversation with Nim and Mink, Noi comes in and she's like, "Wah! Get away from her! What are you doing?" And
she doesn't want her to be next in line. Right?
Yeah, Mink tells.
I don't think either one of them wanted her to be like that, right?
Yeah,
Mink doesn't want to be like that. Not even her mother wanted her.
Yeah, because even Noi, when she was being interviewed at the marketplace, when they asked her what she thought about it, she was like, "Don't." Like, if you're gonna ask stupid questions, just stop recording.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she's like, I don't believe in that stuff. It's silly. Like I think you're like, oh, I can talk in tongues, and then she just started like. Blah, 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 blah.
Mink did that too.
Neither one of them believed in it. They were.
Yeah. Then we also get like a little bit of a side interview where Mink says that she's been having a dream where she keeps seeing, like she's having this dream over and over again where she sees a man basically decapitated, and the head tells her something, but she can't make out what it's saying.
Yeah.
And that's foreshadowing for later on or I thought it was foreshadowing for later on in the movie. After that, Mink goes to work, and she gets fired.
Yeah.
Which we could just skip to the plot twist of why she was fired.
Yeah.
I don't think anything in between that even matters.
Yeah, so
that's what I was like. The doors are probably not locked. You can get in that easily, right?
So we get like 3 or 4 different clips of Mink going to her workplace in the middle of the night and having relationships with various men. Like, and it's...
And the only reason they caught it, which was another important part, was they said that things were going around the office missing, which does come up later on in the movie when they search her room again and find like various pieces of sometimes just like random stuff, like rotten stuff and things that just like are decaying. And, like, but yeah, she was stealing stuff from the office. That's what prompted them. And the guy showed him too. He was like, "Hold on, you want to know why I fired her here?" Like, I'll show you right now. I'll turn my
He's like, "I have the receipt."
Jeez.
And yeah, they so she's been having a little bit of extracurricular activities at the workplace.
Extracurricular activity.
And she tries, right? She's like very insistent. No, I still work here, and she sits down at her desk. And
No. This was after, like she got fired.
Never mind.
There's another scene. Again, probably not of importance.
She runs to the restroom, and she like.
Oh, she's like sick.
She's like bleeding everywhere again.
Oh, because she's like on the verge of croaking at her desk right before she gets fired, and then she runs off to the bathroom.
Yeah, and then
fast forward to.
And then it comes back the next day after whatever, and she literally just like kind of like just goes back and just sits down, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here!"
Everybody's looking at her, right?
Yeah, everybody's like, "What are you outside? Get out of here!" Yeah.
And even the security guard, right? He's like, "Come on, we have to go."
That's funny.
So it's not really important to know when exactly time of year this movie takes place, but we get a scene where she's getting ready for a performance or something like that, and it's like a Christmas parade, and so she gets put on one of the floats, and she's dressed in all white and stuff like that, and she's going on the float. You know, Mink is coming. Her family's all excited to see her, and they say like, "Oh, Mink, hi!" trying to get her attention, all these other things, and she's just straight like.
And then she pelts like somebody in the crowd at the beach. She's like, and nobody reacts to it on one person. Like, nobody saw that. Nobody saw me get hit.
She does it like 4 times, right?
She's like chucking that
She's like,
stuff.
for real, she's doing throwing them hard, right? The freaking kids.
Oh man, it's pretty funny. I love that scene.
Oh man. But we do get a little bit of a glimpse of Nim on and she's like staring at Mink
she's
like
noticing like
like what the heck, dude? What's up with you? What's going on? And so after the parade, after she gets fired, Mink is starting to like feel some stress on going on in her life, and we get the camera following Noi into their home. Right, they're like talking to her, doing all these other things, and Noi hears the shower on in the house, and she's like knocking on the door. Right, and she's like, "Hey, Mink, are you taking a shower?" And Mink is unresponsive, not saying anything to the
Mink. Mink. That's like half the movie.
You know what? When she was saying that, I kept thinking of Mars Attacks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I said like half the dialogue was just that. Like, if you got the script, it would just be like 10 pages of Mink. That's why I took away from that part. I was like, oh my, or all the parts. I'm like, man, that's all they do. Like, just say her name. Yeah, like, at some point, come on, guys.
So they knock the door down, and we find Mink on the floor with her, and she's like bleeding out, and everybody freaks out. They get her to the hospital, and we find out that at the hospital that Nim tried the exact same thing, and we see her scars, and she and Nim also survived, and so Nim surviving was her basically accepting Bayan into her. She's like, you know what, like I get it, right? Like I tried to get away, but you didn't let me, so now I'm yours. Is basically her mentality with the deity and accepting the shamanship. Again, at the hospital, like after this conversation, we get Noi saying, "No, I don't want Mink to be the last, or I don't want Mink to be the shaman, XYZ.
I thought at this point she already kind of like accepted it. She was like,
because she's on the hospital bed, right?
Yeah, she's like,
no, she just, I don't want to see her like this. Like, I mean, because at this point she's hitting lows and like she's realizing, I think she doesn't have very much more control over it.
Yeah, so she's like, just do the ceremony.
Oh, do the ceremony, and then they said,
she said you can't. Nim said we can't. I forgot why, but there's a reasoning.
Because she said that she doesn't think it's Bayan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
When she says
that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't do it. And she's like, no, why? Like, why?
Well, I don't think she like fully explained it. She kind of was just like, no, I won't. And then she's like, how? Because she got mad. The sister got mad. What do you mean? Yeah. Like, why don't you love do you like seeing your niece like this? Like, that's what upset her, was she wouldn't give her a direct answer. It wasn't until the next scene that where I think she finally tells her.
Yeah. So Nim basically goes back to their house, right? Mink and Noi's house, and she is knocking on this door to this room, and we haven't like seen this room yet, right? So and their brother, which is the irrelevant uncle that we kind of skipped over a bunch, he gives them the key. Is it him or his wife? One of
He
them
has the key,
has the
and Nim's
keys.
like, Nim just takes it
Oh,
because they want to
okay.
open the door.
Yeah, so Nim takes the keys and opens the door, and we find out that this is actually their brother's room, right? So this is Mink's dead brother's room. And
That was her brother? I thought that was
That's her
cousin.
brother. No,
No,
it's her
that was her brother. Yeah, because remember, every male in that line is dead. And, like, you can keep this in the video. You don't have to. I don't know. I want to know what y'all think. Were they doing it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No,
I
they had a relationship.
I think they had.
That's why I thought they were cousins.
a romantic
They
relationship.
had a romantic relationship.
Because I think
That's
they were
what they're-
insinuating that they got caught, and that's why he offed himself.
Yes.
But they lied about
That he
how
got in a
passed
motorcycle
away.
accident, yeah.
Yeah.
They said he got in a motorcycle, and that's when Nim goes to the tree to find where he
Oh, he's like,
Yeah,
he's like,
she-
show me.
News,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You see, like,
because
still the
Nim's
top
like,
end of
tell
the
me how he
news.
died. And, like,
Yeah.
he's like, you know it's a motorcycle. And she's like, tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was that, yeah, I
Because
guess.
she was like, there was something going on because all the pictures of them
Mhm.
were really close.
Yeah.
So they were having a special relationship. Whether or not she took him back to her workplace, we don't know.
Bruh.
Damn.
But yeah, so Nim goes to the locate or ends up going to the location, right, where Mink's brother took his own life, and we see the essentially like part of the noose that he would have thrown over the tree. So like it's kind of like if they got the branch and they just cut it like that and they kept the top part on it. I don't know how that works, but whatever, right? I don't get it, but okay. Mink's mom then takes her to a different shrine, right?
Wait,
And this is where I think...
before that, though, Nim basically tells her brother, she's like, do you know what happens when, like, somebody offs themselves? Basically
Oh yeah,
insinuating
yes, the lore of the spirit, the spirit basically morphs into something else. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can't
Ooh, I
actually.
completely missed this.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
she did mention that. That was a good point.
So in most cases, someone had pointed out, like, in a lot of things, people consider, like, spiritualism, like, as, you know, something where it's benevolent or at least, like, indifferent, right? It doesn't care. So in this, a lot of death seems to be, in this religion, a lot of death seems to be aligned with malicious behavior. And that's something that they kind of go towards at the end, too. When they die, they become malicious instead of just kind of like something that passes on. And that kind of was something that overtook
So you're
her.
saying it's like it's a disturbance. Like
Yes, exactly.
It's not in the same flow of
Exactly.
everything else. Is how
Exactly.
she put it. Something like that.
And that's kind of one of the things that I was like, okay, it kind of like won some points for me. It's like, it's different. I don't know too much about the actual like religion itself. I know it's obviously based off something real, and I don't know how accurate it is to the actual religion, but I just thought that was something that was really interesting in myself.
Yeah, because she gets into the brother's room, she realizes what actually happened to Mink's brother, and then she insinuates that, because Mink had already, I think she ran away right at this point, and then that's why Nim is like, we need to go where he was at
Yes.
and ask him where he took her.
So Mink runs
I
off.
think
no, there's not yet.
No, in a little bit.
But yeah, so she mentioned the thing
it's
about
the next part that we're about to get into.
when they go into Mink's brother's room, Nim mentions, like, since he offed himself and that was his way of passing, that she thinks he has something to do with what's going on with Mink.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like, the whole
'cause
thing of
like
being
it-
a malicious spirit, you know.
It like latches on to
Yes.
something that it was a part of. So if they were having a close relationship, then that would be something that would try to pull her in because it needs like the life force or something like that. Like it just
Yeah.
needs something to latch on to.
Yeah.
And so that's when we find out why she can't do the acceptance ceremony. And then
Yes.
it jumps to the next scene.
Yeah, so I missed a very important part of the movie. So then Mink's mom takes her to like a different
Like another random.
shrine, right, or something like that. Is this
It's another
where
religion
everyone-
that I guess there's a lot of religions in that area that have similar ceremonies
what I was gonna say.
that can do it. And I guess they all legitimately, I guess they're kind of real because it works,
Yeah.
right? Like
It's like the express med of like, you know,
like
like
hey,
religious ceremonies.
like hey, you
Like,
want
it's
you
like-
want this thing
Yeah,
in you?
yeah.
We got you.
Yeah,
we got
yeah,
you.
you got, you got it. Like, I don't know what it is, but you know, we're gonna put something in you.
Right, and so they take Min there or Ming there, and like I think too, like isn't she like her hands are like tied?
Yeah, they tie her.
They're tied,
tie her
and
hands.
she's just there, and she's just kind of like loopy, not really all there. But then as the camera is like panning on her, she eventually like looks up and gets that creepy smile of like,
Because
okay.
when she comes back from the hospital, that's when we learn that she's like entirely possessed
Yeah.
after that.
Was this the scene with the car window? Was at the hospital or before she was
That's-
going to? Was that after?
That's on the way to this ceremony.
I think, yeah.
What-
So in the one scene, again, there's too many events to remember because the movie's long. So she's in the car and she's doing like the head against the window and there's a reflection, and in the reflection it's actually fairly like, you know, pretty like transparent. As you can see it, but it's very transparent too. It's not like very easy to see, but you can really make out that eventually like the reflection turns by itself and she's not moving and it does like the really big creepy smile.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I think that was the real telltale sign of like something is for sure in her.
That's really
And then at the
cool.
ceremony, it only, I think, strengthened the bond of like, yeah, no, you allowed me to now take over. Like, I guess, again, every religion actually has a good power to do it, and they made it happen. So I think the demon was pretty happy that it happened.
Yeah.
And I think they did finish the ceremony. It just, but Nim, I think, came and interrupted, like, right.
This was a good scene.
Yeah.
That's funny to know because I think this is actually like the hour mark. I think that's when I remember because I remember it's like this mark is when and I was like, so that's when the whole movie changes at this point.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting at, you know, exactly halfway in the movie.
Yeah.
So basically what Adam's getting at is that Nim walks into the room to like interrupt the ceremony, right? Like, what are you doing? XYZ. And Mink turns around towards the cameraman, right? She grabs the camera and beats the living out of the freaking dude.
I
No, her
thought
mom. Her mom goes to the hospital.
Oh, Sorry.
I literally thought the mom was gonna die.
I did too,
And
yeah.
they like had the carrots like,
And you can hear yeah.
Stupid.
The cameraman just watching.
the cameraman's like, don't turn around, don't turn around.
And that's like another thing, right? Like, why didn't he like?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's like there's points like it's like why
Because you're trained as like a cameraman in a documentary, like
not interfere.
you can't
Yeah.
interfere. Like even like in National Geographic, like I think there's laws like you're not supposed to interfere. Like it's against the law to interfere. So like
Really?
when you watch like National Geographic and they're showing like the animals getting eaten or dying in the cold or starvation or whatever, they can't interfere. They're not supposed to. So like they just have to sit there and like
watch it
and film it.
Yeah,
Not even
that's
I just watch it, film it. They don't have to. Like, dude, it's pretty.
Yeah.
So I think that's they're all trained to do that. Like you don't ever stop rolling, and you never stop.
See, but I feel like it makes sense for there to be laws about animals, right? Because endangered species would ever circle of life. But with people, somebody's literally like
this is money.
like
This is money.
No,
This
It's
is
like
money.
Late Night with the Devil, man.
Yeah,
You just got it for the
It's
ratings.
like the way what is it? HIPAA like gets violated.
There's no HIPAA in Indonesia.
Can you say that?
Oh, fact check. Put in the comments if there's HIPAA in Indonesia.
No, but you know what I mean. Like you can't say anything unless it causes harm to them or somebody else. Like put the camera down. Somebody's literally getting harmed.
No, I think there's been like photography too of like I think I've seen it before with like native tribes and stuff like that, like children or like even like just some adults like where they're being attacked by like nature. I think I remember seeing, I don't know if it was a video or a photo of like, I want to say it was like a kid and he was being constricted by like a snake and they couldn't do anything either.
Dang.
Yeah, so I think you
really can't interfere. Now, not to say that it would be against the law for him to interfere, but again, it's money, right? Like they're like, okay, this is actually really cool. We got somebody getting beat by a camera. Like, let me stay filming, you know.
They should have played that footage of the camera that she was hitting her with.
Yeah. You just see red.
I know. Yeah.
He's like, hey,
well, maybe she wouldn't have got beat with the camera, but maybe it would have been like
the
something
camera
else. It could have been something else, but maybe that was their fault. So maybe they should have been beat. But I don't know.
So right after Mink beats the crap out of her mom with the camera, she runs away into the forest, like gone. Right? She they beelines it for the door. They are like following her.
They can't find her.
She turns and she literally vanishes.
Well, it's like she did something where nobody could actually legitimately do the same thing she did, and then the Nim all 60-year-old person of her trying to chanclas trying to go after her, took her at least 10 minutes to get downstairs.
Yeah.
I thought it was something she jumped off a 2-story window or building or something.
She outran them. She outran them hard.
Yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, she took off, and that was, I don't know, it was a weird. I was halfway again, kind of in and out of it, so I misremembered some of that. I just laughed. I'm like, Nim, you're not gonna catch up to her. You're 60 years old. This is a 20-something-year-old woman. You're not gonna catch up to her. To summarize, the next part is like 30 pages of script where everybody's just yelling Ming and like, and then like out of people, right? There's like windows, bang, bang, like people are like, hey, shut up, we're trying to sleep, bang,
Yeah. So they basically go on a hunt, right, looking
They
for her.
can't find her.
They can't find her.
And this is where like months pass, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah, so,
actually.
like,
So we get a number.
No,
I
I
think it
was
was
just
months,
gonna
I
say
think it
that.
was weeks.
I think it's like
No,
3
it's
months. 3 months.
It's like 3 months.
Yeah, I think like the next important thing after this, like
Yeah.
we can skip through everything until Nim is at the tree.
So they kind of happen simultaneously. So this is where we kind of get like two different scenes that are going on like simultaneously, right? In one scene or in one kind of perspective that they keep jumping to are people, Mink's uncle and mom, just trying to find her.
Even other people, I think it's like a bunch of
Like they have a whole
yeah,
bunch of people, but
it's
just
third
like
party,
you know,
yeah.
with every other missing person case, like as time goes by, like the number of people looking dwindles. They're looking for Mink, and they haven't heard from her in months. So that's what's going on in this part of the town. The other part of the town, where's like the more important things that are happening.
Yeah, just basically Nim decides that it's best for her to try to let the spirit show her where it is, or the evil entity, because she can go to that direct location, but she does need to have things that were a part of Ming, but it's all the stuff that Ming stole, like all the stuff that
Yes.
she stole throughout, I guess, the months or weeks she's been possessed. Again,
Yeah.
timeline.
She has
very
like
skewed.
30 items.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she basically just makes a giant, like, lack of better terms, pentagram and like
Yeah.
candles and all
Yeah.
that. And so she saw it like very distinctively. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I'm gonna sit here and pray until
Mhm.
the sign comes, because there will be a sign. So she consistently is doing like in every culture, you
The
crack
egg,
the
yeah.
egg. So hopefully it gets the spirit, and eventually once it turns color, red, black, whatever, that's usually the sign. And so
Mhm.
when that happens, again, that's a giant time lapse, right? We're talking about, you're saying months and months and months. So she's praying at the tree, she's getting rained on, and then she just turns into, eventually it finally cracks. There's the black, right? The black ugly egg and the giant wind. And that's when she has this epiphany that she needs to go somewhere, and she knows exactly where, like it just clicks that she needs to go somewhere, drives.
Yeah, she uses the force.
Uses the force. She gets driven right somewhere,
Yeah.
has them to stop, runs through bushes. Like, I thought she was
Yeah.
running to like a jungle, and then all of a sudden just ran out of in the jungle somewhere. Like, there's just this random abandoned,
Well,
torn down building.
that was the building that you burned down.
Yes, and that's what, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was getting. But I was like, there's like nothing else around there. Like, there's
No.
no other like buildings or other abandoned things. Just like there was just the thing. So it turns out it was Ming's dad's or grandfather's, right?
Yeah, his
Grandfather's
grandfather.
factory that we didn't quite know yet until she eventually walked in and saw the name, and then the name
Yeah.
The
clicked.
sign, yeah.
Yeah, the sign, and she goes up the stairs, very creepy abandoned building. Eventually gets to the top, sees this weird, like almost like tree or
Vine.
vines
Yeah.
growing, but
It's
they're
like-
black.
Yeah.
And then she eventually sees like something laying there and turns around. It's a malnourished Ming, and then that leads us to basically the start of the third act, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to note about Nim, like making that shrine or praying or whatever, that she made it where Mink's brother himself.
Yes.
Yeah, it was at the
Yeah.
tree, yeah.
Yeah, because she
Same
says, like, we need to ask him where he took her.
And then,
Yeah.
but then she realizes at that point,
It's
and then once she realizes the factory and that all clicks, she even says it like, "This is
It's not
this
him.
this threw me off the trail. Like
Yeah.
whatever this like it purposely steered me away from it so
Mhm.
it could do what it needed to do.
Yeah.
It didn't finally give her the information, I think, until it was ready
Yeah.
Yeah.
to reveal it.
Yeah.
So I think it was. I agree. I think it was the ceremonies when she got fully possessed, because that's when she finally left. She was gone for 3 weeks, and it somehow managed to take
Yeah.
care of her for the most part. And then, it eventually decided it was going to release the information of where she was at.
Yeah.
Because that's when they start freaking out, right? They're like, you had her do this random ceremony. You don't even know what it was.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the thing. Yeah, that's why they didn't want her to do it, because that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, when they
and
say they, it's really just Nim, because the mom doesn't
Yes.
doesn't know anything. Like, she's just trying
She-
to make things better.
And that's like where they really honestly like they messed up. If they never
yeah.
did the ceremony, then it could have been easier probably for them to kind of cure her.
Yeah.
Cure her.
So you hear that at home? Don't let random demons into your body with
Yeah.
random ceremonies.
Don't do random ceremonies at home.
After they find Mink, Nim goes back to her shrine, right, of Bayan, to go like pray and do all these other things. And this is where,
Oh, sad.
yeah, this is where I think Mink's dream comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So when Nim gets to the shrine by Ya, like in the way the shrine looks, it's essentially like it's surrounded by rock, right? It's
really
like
nice.
this circular.
It's like a cavern, almost like a cavern, but not really because it's open still
What is
on the
it?
back end,
It's
and it's open at the
yeah.
top. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
open at the top.
What is that called? It's called something.
Like a canyon.
Not like a
Like
cake.
a-
There's a term for it. I can't remember what
Yeah,
it's
it's
called.
just like think of it like like a bread bowl,
Alcove,
essentially.
yeah, it's
like
like
it's
a-
open
yeah,
at the
yeah.
top, and then the shrine's in the
Yeah.
middle, and
Yeah.
grass, and there's
like
It's
an alcove or something.
Something like that.
Is bread bowl a better analogy than canyon?
That makes sense. It's like a bread bowl. Wait, a bread bowl. Bread bowl.
It is in a bowl.
Bread bowl. Bread bowl. It has to be a bread bowl.
Has to be bread.
It has to be bread.
So the way that the shrine looks, right? So just like how they described it, in the middle there's like a humanoid figure that's kind of sitting crisscross applesauce, right? It has like a toga kind of rope thing going on, and a head. Well, when Nim gets there, the head is cut off, and it's like at the bottom of the basically like mount.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if y'all caught this. I don't know if y'all caught what color the figure was at the beginning, but at this point, like the clothes are red.
I didn't notice
I
that.
didn't notice that either. Because wasn't it like black stone in the
I
beginning?
think so,
It's
and
like-
it's like very slightly red, like, but it's there if you look for it.
didn't notice
Dang,
that.
I just caught the head being off.
Yeah, me too.
As like Mink's dream.
So like from there, like Nim obviously is like devastated, right? Like this is essentially to her, it's the equivalent of like the scene from The Exorcist where the priest walks in and he sees the Virgin Mary all like disgusting and stuff like that. So I don't know if you've seen that movie, but basically what it is like she's all defaced.
I've never seen the movie.
Yeah. Oh well. Never mind.
I was like, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
They like smear blood all over her, and they like put like giant cone on her. Like it's like that's funny. So like this is obvious. This is like devastating to her, right? Like it's
Because
really
her temple
difficult.
was destroyed.
Yeah, like it's really difficult to put like how she's feeling into words, right?
It was
But like
really-
I think she did really good in
Yeah,
this.
I
in the
empathized with it.
scene.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying, now we start getting into Act 3, right? So like the whole climax and all these other things start happening. And so at this point, Mink is at home, and Nim goes to visit her, and Mink goes like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff, and they tie her to the bed frame.
Yep.
Remember that? Like they,
Oh,
It's
yes.
the
yes,
extension
yes,
cord,
yes.
right?
And they do that's where they do the ritual, right? They tie like the rope around her
Yeah.
head and they put her finger in like the water and it like gets all black. That was cool. Because they put her finger in the thing and it gets all black and then it breaks.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
she starts being all weird with
Yeah.
her
Oh,
uncle.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, she starts asking her uncle to give her relationships.
Yeah.
She just starts being very vulgar.
Yeah, it's
to take him to the employee center.
So then we cut to like a different shrine, right? And like in this one, it's everybody's screaming, and they're all like,
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
like kind of.
Well, because basically, like, I think Nim brings up, like, look, listen, if we're going to deal with this, like, you may not like my tactic, but we're going to need to, like, get help
yeah,
from another group.
Oh,
And
this
they're
one starts
another,
rolling.
you can tell it's another, like, subsection, right? Like, that
Yeah.
they don't probably see eye to eye, but, like, they're friends. They know, like, the head
Yeah.
priest and Nim know each other. So, yeah, like you're saying, they're dancing around. You can tell they're very, like, I don't know. I don't want to compare it to any other religion, but they're, like, more... Like, you can tell they're more deeply involved in it, right? Like, there's a lot of physical aspect to it. There's a lot of, like, you can tell these people have almost fully devoted themselves to whatever they're doing. And so, completely a little different than...
I think whatever they're doing is like fake, like to the guy. Because even Nim at one point says, like, after this, she's like, why are you like doing all this? And he's like, well, I have to make money somehow, you know?
Yeah, because she
It's-
makes a comment about
Yeah, she makes a
it
comment about it. So
being
whatever
fake.
he's doing there is for show, and it's not actually religiously like devout, at least to
Right.
him.
Well,
So whatever-
yes, but, however, as the thing goes on and they do the thing in the final piece of the act, I think they do know what they're doing, how to do it. I think they just have to play up the fact that, like, this a fake illness
Yeah.
healing or whatever. But I
Yeah,
think
whatever
they do
he's
know
doing in
that
that thing, it's not.
real, but
Yeah,
they are
right.
legit. They're
Yes,
still
yes,
legit.
they are
Yeah.
legit. Yes, yes.
So right after we get introduced to this secondary high shaman person, Nim goes ahead and gives everybody the information, right, about where she found Mink, how she found him in this place. And we get like a little bit more lore here, right, where Noi was actually targeted by her husband because she rejected Baya. And so that, like, again, right, like...
But she was what?
I'm pretty sure this is where we learn here that Noi was targeted by her husband because she rejected Bayan.
Targeted?
Yeah, like she rejected Bayan, and her husband came after and was like, "Oh, hey, you know."
Oh, I didn't even.
Because we learned some pretty extensive lore on the husband.
I know that too. I know that's how it like worked out. I know. What's her name? Mink gets possessed because of the events between both of them, but I didn't realize that the husband actually came into the picture because she rejected.
That was my interpretation of the conversation.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. I just think, I guess if you're curious why in my mind, again, half asleep, I think I had connected it as like, because she rejected it, then he could see that as somebody he could be with versus, because they, obviously he might have figured out they had a dark history. Whereas with Bayan, maybe that he knew, like, if he was somebody that was a part of that cult or section, whatever, it would be harder for him to be happy or whatever. I don't know the full spectrum. That's how I took it. That's how I took it.
So then when they're at this location, that's when they start like, hey, we're going to start making preparations to perform another ritual where we're going to free Mink of this being, right?
Yeah.
And she can live her normal life.
It's going to take, what, a couple weeks, right? Like,
it takes a little bit.
While,
I think
a week or something.
No, it's more than a week. It was like almost like 3 weeks of preparation or something. It was it was extensive because you had to think about all those nights that they had to wait. You know what I mean?
Oh, that they were recording.
Yeah,
that happens over 5 nights.
Yeah, that happens because they on the screen it says X amount of days before ceremony.
Yeah, at one point it was like 15 or 14.
No,
yes,
it was like 5. The first when they start putting up the cameras in the house, it was like 5 days.
Well, when they finally put up those cameras, but there was a lot before then that happened.
Some time passes between when they decide to make preparations and when they actually like start filming the footage again, and they decide to install cameras inside of the household. And these scenes were my favorite out of the entire movie. But not the dog. The dog almost made me cry.
Does the dog die yet? We saved you a website visit. The dog does die. And the baby dies.
So basically, we get like X amount of days before the ritual, and that dwindles down until the day of the ritual, right? So that's what's going on. But every single day, she gets worse and worse and worse, right? So she starts off just kind of being a creepo and like doing some kind of like
thing, eating raw meat, and
crawling around the house,
crawling around the house, and then of course that's not enough. It escalates a little bit more, and she like starts eating, I think, like rotten food or something like that. Raw meat. You're right. She opens up the fridge, and there's a jump scare. I think the only jump scare in the movie.
Yeah, right, it got me. I was like, oh shit! Too, I was like, that's not supposed to be there.
And then that's not enough, and so she jumps even farther. Oh, it breaks my heart.
They kill the dog.
She does
pee on the table.
That's just disgusting.
What a sicko, right?
Yeah, no, she urinates all over the table.
Yeah.
Well, her and the dog have beef in one of the footage.
In one of them, and then I think the uncle or the mom walks in and breaks them apart.
Yeah. No. I thought it was really weird too how like the demon was very I wouldn't say scared, but kind of like it almost felt like the demon was getting stronger as the days got closer because. Yeah, she was having beef with the dog, and then they hear she hears them call out, like, I guess whoever it was, the aunt or the mom or something, and she gets scared and she runs back into her room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked this whole part because it was like the traditional overnight footage, right? Where the night vision is green. Like it's not like the white and blue night vision. It's just like a green screen.
Yeah.
I thought all of this was really cool.
It
felt very much like when we were younger and watching like the scary YouTube videos that were like a minute long.
Yeah.
And like the night vision, like it gave those same vibes.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And then of course peeing on the table isn't enough and having beef with the dog isn't enough, so she goes ahead and she boils the dog alive.
Yeah. And I think she cuts it up too.
We don't even see that as one of the nights, right? They're talking to the producer.
No, you see the pot. No, they see the pot. And the uncle opens it up and he's like, and then like I think he rushes to the camera people, and that's what you're saying.
This is what gets them to be concerned, right? Her boiling the dog.
Yeah.
Because that's when they go to the car and look at the footage on the camera, and then everything escalates.
Well, because he didn't know how that happened. Like he's like, why is there a dog in the pot? Because the pot was in the middle of the floor, and then it was cut up in pieces. It wasn't even just like.
That's what I thought too. I was like, oh, and the dog died.
Nobody
and they're
heard
like,
the dog
we're going to show the dog die. I was like, what?
But nobody heard it screaming in the pot.
So they don't have a nuclear family household in the area that they're living in. So I don't know. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I know, like the stereotypical.
Okay, so for our audience, if you don't know what a nuclear household is, it's essentially mom, dad, kids, that's it. But in this household, it's Mink, Noi, which is Mink's mom, Mink's uncle's wife, and cousin, Mink's cousin, which is a little infant. And so in the final night, or whatever, Mink kidnaps the baby, right?
Well, at first she's in the room and she's like staring at them, and then she lays in
literally
bed
crawls
with
in the
them.
bed too.
You know what's weird too? Like, she was able to like, I don't know what she was able to do, but she did that thing to the mom where she like touched her stomach and like, I guess she gave her like diarrhea or something.
Oh, you're right.
That shit was weird.
And again, this was like the 30 seconds that the mom got in the entire movie, and then again, and then, but then she has like the biggest like thing at the end. That's so frustrating.
Yeah. So they see on the camera Mink basically running off with the baby. So they run off into the jungle. They find the baby in a friggin' like
cornfield.
Yeah, in a cornfield or something, and then they
Same
find
thing as the again through pages.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, here we go.
I wouldn't even have looked for her, honestly. I would have just left her.
Well, no, it's because they see the baby, and then I think he yelled for it again just to check, and then she was in the bushes, like she wasn't even that much further, and then he came running at him with the knife.
Yeah.
Because it ended up like, and they caught him in the hand. He was like,
yeah.
Like, and that's when the cameraman, I think, actually stepped
finally
in.
does something like, oh,
so, hey,
that's too much right there.
That's too much. So then, day of the ceremony, they go to find Nim, and she's like not there, and they go to her house, and turns out she like passed, right? Like
and didn't even get like a very good scenario. I was just like, it was found that she was passed away, like a little documentary.
Yeah, like she passed away in her sleep.
Yeah, they show her dead in the bed.
They gave her
a funeral. They gave her a funeral.
No, they did give her a funeral. Yeah,
but they found her just face down in her bed.
Yeah, and there was some term that they used for it too.
Leap, something like that. No, not do a leap. It's like, no, hold on. Let me see. Let me see what it is. I can't find the term. It's not Dua Lipa. It's Dua Lipa. I don't know. It's something closer.
And then that's so from there. Then that's when they asked like, well, what are we gonna do? What are we supposed to do? Because the whole idea was that. Again, during this time, and again, that's why I said it was more than just a couple days, because they had to like it was a full regimen. I had to say it was at least 14 days. That's what I'm remembering. They had to basically lock themselves.
That's what it's called. Light tie.
They had to put themselves lock themselves away and like work together. I think at one point like Mink and not Mink, the what's her name? The other shaman, Nim, and the male thing. They had like a connection, like the rope around each other. Like they were almost like combining powers. They were in like a tub. They were like doing all this stuff. They were eating like granola or hand food. I don't know. It was like a whole like thing. And so that's when they came to the house, and then it was like, okay, the food was rotten, whatever. And then they found out that that's why they hadn't heard from her those last couple of days, because she passed away in her sleep or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So. And then that freaked out the mom, Noi, and then that's when she asked the other priest, like, what are we going to do? And he's like, we're going to continue his plan. Like, there's nothing else we can do. Like, we just have to go for it. And
he said it'll work. He's like,
I think it should work.
Yeah, and so this is like, this part of the movie just goes off the deep end.
This is when it goes to the climax, right?
Yeah.
The night of the ceremony.
Yeah, so they're set up at the factory that the grandfather burned down for insurance money.
There's a very good point in that at the start of the ritual, from like they start from their house getting the person over and all that stuff to the factory, right? They're going to the factory. They have the person covered. The thing is draped. The thing is wrapped.
Yes.
So like basically kind of like them like covering their face to do the ceremony. And yeah,
that caught me off guard. I didn't even realize either.
Yeah, and so when they go, they do the thing, and they're starting, and then is that? But you weren't going to that.
No.
What were you alluding to?
So what I was gonna say is that how earlier I had mentioned that like the women are basically leading everything. Everybody who's in this ceremony is a man.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the opposite.
That's
So
why it went wrong.
But yeah, they do that. Yeah, and so, but the idea being again, like they go to the factory. They have like basically what Nim did, but just on a larger scale, right? Like they basically surround the entire factory with all these people and drums, and it's like a whole show.
They even dig like a
hole.
like a hole.
I think that's where they're supposed to put it.
Yeah, because they said it's basically, long story short, similar to how they did the finger with the glass. They're gonna put all the evil energy in this pot, and then they're gonna seal the pot, and then they're gonna bury the pot, and then that should do away with the energy. However that works, I don't know, but. They're going through the ceremony, like I'm sure you're about to allude to. They are doing the thing, and then it's pretty quickly, or not quickly, but they go through the whole process. They do the stuff, and then I think at this point they do something where they basically like stab the back of her head
like
with something. And this again, the whole ceremony is led by this guy, and then once that happens. I think at that point that's when they take it off, and then it's revealed. And they take it off, and it's revealed that it was the mom, which I thought was crazy.
That was the point.
Yeah, we thought it was Ming, and that's why I was like, that was kind of cool. I didn't expect that, but there was one key moment I forgot before then, but I think it was at the funeral when he asked her. Like, are you ready? And she's like, I will give my life or do whatever to make sure my daughter's okay. And so I thought that was really cool, that because I didn't expect that, and it was like, oh, the ceremony is the mom, not me. So when they did that, then that's when they panned finally back to the house, where we realized that at the house is two cameramen, the mom. Not the mom. I'm sorry. The aunt, the baby, and then Mink in the closet. And so once they do all that, they stab her, whatever. It turns out okay, they think that like you think it's over because you hear Mink in the closet, right? Or the thing. She's like, hello, like normal. It's the first time we've heard her.
But there's
normal.
like a bunch of seals around.
Yeah, the seals.
What I thought. Okay, this is one thing that I hated. They gave us so much lore dump and like insight to every other part, but they didn't show locking her in the room. They didn't show putting the seals up.
Well, that was the point. The whole point, because if they had shown that, then we weren't supposed to know exactly.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So then from there, I think that was kind of interesting too. That like that's when we haven't heard Mink talk normally and. God knows how long. The beginning, yeah. And so it's like, hello, like, can somebody let me out? Like, not as like aggressive, but like just like, hey, come on.
Like normal, like as if she was cured.
Yeah, like she was cured. But the cameraman, right, was like, or no, not the cameraman. There was a monk. He's like, no, we can't let her out. Like
they haven't told.
No, that was that a monk? I thought it was a cameraman.
No, it was a monk.
No, there was two cameramen, one or two cameramen, and then one of the monkeys. He's dressed in all white, and then it's the aunt with the baby. They're sitting in the
and he's like, the
one that's fighting against her. That was the monk.
That was one of the monks. Yeah, she got the cameraman too. They all die pretty easily. But anyways, long story short, spoiler alert. Basically, she gets a little bit more aggressive with the door, and then that's when the baby cries inside the room because when Mink's locked in. And so that's when the aunt, who's only been on screen for like 20 seconds ever, like then starts freaking out, like, my baby. She kind of glances at the crib, but then like, oh, my baby's in there. And like she's trying to open the door, and the monk's fighting her.
I was gonna say, I think the demon did something to her.
Because I could have sworn we panned into the crib and it wasn't in there.
It is in there.
At first, it looks like it's not. Well, they don't go fully into the crib. They kind of like, it's a side glance, yeah. And again, the noise is coming from there. There's no noise coming from the crib.
Yeah.
So the mom freaks out, tries to rip down the door, and the monk's fighting her. Like, no, come on, like, blah, blah, we gotta, you can't do this. We gotta wait. And that's when the cameraman then goes over to the crib and is like, the baby's right there.
He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say your baby's in there.
That was
Well, no, the monk says that.
Yeah, but the cameraman literally recorded it. And
no, I think he says like, why don't you check? Like,
the monk says, why don't you check? And so he goes to check, and he's like, the baby's in there. So he's telling him.
That's what I'm saying. The cameraman never says anything to the lady.
And the other thing too, right, is that like it's 2v1. Like,
Yeah.
both of them were just.
That's
the
what I'm
holders.
saying. If they put the camera down and
But
restrain her,
again, they have no like.
It's good for ratings.
Yeah,
At what
but
point-
they don't have no dog in the fight, right? Like they're just there. Like to them, it's like okay, if she's possessed, all right, cool. We just leave after this. Like deuces. Like what does it matter to them? They're not a part or affiliated with this other than they're just recording.
Yeah.
So, but yes, eventually, mom breaks free somehow. She ends up opening the door. You get the big. I think there's almost like the wind gusts or whatever, right? Takes out all the monks like at the actual facilities, their candles, everything.
Yeah.
And
they're affecting you.
and then from there, because they were draining some of that stuff in the pot, it just kind of like stops, right?
Yeah.
And then
They think it's done.
They think it's done.
Well, he knows it's not done.
Because he's like, we're gonna stop right there.
Yeah,
Everybody's like, why'd you stop in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's when, I think that's when crap kind of just hits the fan. Mink comes out, starts attacking people at the house.
She murks everybody in the house
Except for one lone
except for
cameraman.
one lone cameraman who films her eating the baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, I mean,
No.
He wasn't
He
even
films
filming that at
her
first.
killing everybody else.
And he
And
hides.
And he hides,
Yeah.
and then he's like, oh, the baby. And he like peeks out the door, right? He's
And
like,
that's it. He's over.
And then she's like,
Yeah.
oh, you. And then he's like, oh, look at the door. And then she opens the door
He
and
dies. Yeah.
But I think it was kind of cool at the facility. This is where again, it's okay. It's kind of interesting, but it gets weird. Like the pans to the guy, right, the head guy, and he's just kind of like
He's going to
the edge.
walking
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, and he's
or
laughing,
something.
right? He's like, ha, 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 ha. And everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's the deal? And everybody's trying to like ask, like, what's going on? Did we finish? Did we whatever? And then he just like falls back, like not even a story down, but yet somehow breaks every
like
limb in
Family
his
Guy.
body. Yeah, like everything's broken as if he fell like 50 feet, and it's like in our 50 stories, and it was like a story, not even like one staircase.
It's probably bigger than we thought. It's
No,
Yeah.
because
It's probably bigger.
The
I'm gonna.
stairs seem kind of long.
Yeah, I'm gonna chalk it up
They
to
walked the
perception.
whole
Yeah.
cow up
Yeah.
those stairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna chalk it up to
Like-
perception.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Dude, that
it's
camera-
a little
I agree with Adam.
The
It's a little
camera
bigger
was
than
like right here, and the
Yeah.
guy was like over like that.
They're like two stories. We're gonna
It's
say it's like
not.
we're gonna say it's like two stories. We'll say it's two stories.
Dude,
Leave it
that's-
to the imagination.
Yeah.
They didn't have the budget for two stories.
Yeah, and then at that point is basically it just turns into the monks starting to slightly go crazy and get eaten and
Well, because
beaten
since
by
the
other
base
monks.
broke,
Yeah,
I think
everybody
got
gets
back out
possessed.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
everybody
Yeah.
gets possessed.
Except for the people that were in the original room with him.
Yeah.
Because everyone outside disappears. But
Well,
the
no,
people-
They get-
No,
they end up
they end up
They
getting
get,
possessed
but they
too.
get possessed later because at
Yeah.
first they're confused. They're like, "What's happening?"
Well, 'cause they
But
try
then
to
when
leave.
Mink comes in and the mom, she's like, "Oh, I'll finish it. I'll finish it." And she gets like the incense things.
Mhm.
When she
Yeah.
puts them upside down,
Yeah.
that's when everybody else in the room gets possessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they
Right.
have some kind of like demon Dragon Ball Z fight right between the freaking mom and Mink or something.
Yeah, and this is where I did not like
I was confused.
I didn't like the movie. Again, we don't have to go into it, but at some point the caravan runs, they get eaten by other monks that are running like dogs.
That was
or
cool.
whatever.
I liked it.
I mean,
It was like-
I don't know.
They had the whole visceral, like his guts showing and
I thought
everything
it was,
like that.
the only cool part I found out of that whole scene was how when Mink came, the other guys were like scared. They were
Yeah.
like backing up
because they knew,
Mink.
like, first of all, how did she get over there that fast? Like,
She's a demon. Come
Yeah,
on.
we
Demons
talked about-
demons have
We didn't
superpowers.
even, okay, we're pretty much at the end of the movie at this point.
Yeah.
we are at the end.
Well, what I was
Yeah.
saying is, I
No,
didn't.
that's like
well,
2 more hours.
Well, what I was saying, I didn't like that. What I
So
didn't
this
like.
was 30 minutes.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
actually the first 30 minutes of the movie.
What I didn't like was the idea that, like, okay, so they flipped it right, like, oh man, it was the mom that was at the ritual. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then she did the incense thing, which is like, oh no, like she's evil possessed now, like
Yeah.
this is not good. But then she turns around and she's like, no, like what is it, Bonham?
She's lying.
Yeah, she's like, it's in me, but she legitimately
sounds
like
concerned.
tries to get the daughter back in it, and then because the daughter turns on her. That's what
Well,
he's
this-
saying.
this
There was
is
like,
what
She's like, Mink, please come back. Like, she's like,
The
I don't
daughter-
know.
She gets possessed enough until to do what the demon needs to do, then the demon leaves her. And then she
Which-
comes back.
well, no,
You know
but I was
what
saying that, but that's what I'm saying. The mom, like, she was bad, but then she was good for like a minute or two, and then it was like, but then I don't remember what happened after that because
Because the demon literally goes, oh, these people aren't possessed. All right, let me possess her real quick, finish what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to leave her body. That's what happens.
But
and
you
then
know-
she's trying to convince herself that she,
Yeah.
experienced something to help her daughter. And obviously,
You know,
What's
that's
the
where I
name
did
again?
kinda get those vibes.
Baion?
so she
Yeah.
was demonically possessed, and then she wasn't possessed.
There's too much to happen at once to take. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I feel like the ending was, it was just kind of everywhere. It was what it did, is Ida the one that said they just didn't know how to end it? Was she?
I thought they did.
I thought the ending was great. That was so good.
But like I said too, again, with that, and then back to the mom or the aunt or whatever ruined it. Ruined it. She changed the entire plot, and she was only in the movie for like a minute. Like, how can you do that as a movie director, producer? Like, decide that some character that has literally no bearing on the movie the entire time.
But what was supposed to happen then?
Well, I think you could.
How would you still make it to where like
they got let out? I feel like it would have been better had the mom still been there, but the uncle been there as well.
I don't know. Before we get into our closing thoughts, I just want to mention we didn't talk about the scene where the bus driver drops a Mink off in the middle of the road, right? And then he turns to back out and leave. And then
that was how they found her, right? That was like her missing case.
Yeah, I just needed to point out that I thought that was a really cool scene.
The taxi driver, where she was like
a
ghost.
Scared me. I was like,
so what Amanda's referring to is that earlier in this episode when we talked about the two scenes going on, with the one where they're looking for Mink and the other one where we have Nim.
He's like talking trash to the police officer. He's like, "What are you even doing? You're just sitting here."
Yeah. So what Amanda's referring to is happening in this part of town where they're trying to figure out where Mink is.
Just watch the movie. It's streaming on Shudder. There's a lot we skipped over.
Well, there's just a lot that was unnecessary.
Yeah. But that bus.
Good scares, but just.
So just like they're saying, the Mink's mom and Mink have like this kind of showdown thing.
It's not really like a showdown. It's more of
they kamehameha each other.
It's more of her like trying to still save her daughter as like the only person that's not possessed left.
Mink, right? Now it's the one who
she douses her mother. In gasoline. And
And
before
then
that, I guess the uncle he's possessed. He jumps off.
Yeah,
which is like
he jumps out the window. Yeah,
he dies.
He jumps out the window,
and then everybody else either gets cannibalized or they like
burn in the building.
Yeah,
something like that. So then after everything gets burned down, the very last thing that we get is Nim, right?
Well, I guess to kind of close out that scene. I guess I don't know if Mink survives or not. I don't know if she dies. Point is, it's really everyone pretty much. It's not a happy ending.
Yeah,
everyone pretty
possessed or
everyone's either possessed
and then we
or
get some like never before seen footage of Nim's
and
interview.
This is what I actually, because this is what kind of made me like. I thought before I saw that scene, I thought a couple of things. Once I saw her like pass, I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be like a hopeful movie, right? Maybe like something's gonna happen, like her death. Like maybe she died. She had to die to like do something to stop like the rich one who was gonna come in at the last second. And then that happened, and I was like mad. I was like, so then Nim died for nothing, right? Like if they just killed off her character for nothing. And then this scene comes out. I was like, it makes a lot of sense. And if you don't understand why, I'll tell you why. Like I said, this was another thing I looked into.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, I guess we can just tell them what happens, right? This happens, like, I guess, the day of the ceremony or something like that.
No, it's before.
Like,
they find her dead.
Yeah, she's been dead for
so,
a days.
she, what was that? I gotta find that term again.
She questions herself because she doesn't think she was ever possessed by Bonham. Like, she was just like, I don't even know if it was ever with me.
Yes, and I think that's a very, interesting thing to talk about because the deaths she had, they call it Lai Tai. So Lai Tai means to be killed by the mercy of a god. The idea behind that is, what if she really was, she was questioning herself and she didn't know if she was like that. And there's other things why I kind of like this scene because it kind of hits a little close to home, kind of stuff like that, but that's besides the point. What people were kind of realizing is like maybe this demon or whatever was too powerful for Bayan to handle. And so the only thing Bayan could do was save the one who was devout to her. So instead of her having to suffer like everybody else did, in that sense, she gave her a mercy killing slowly in her sleep. And that's what kind of brought the movie to me. And I was like, that's really good. That kind of made the movie really good for me. And it kind of tied everything together.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I thought
that is cool.
So you know what would have saved that if they would have put that definition along with it in the thing. Yeah, I guess they're like, this is something referred to in the culture of Lai Tai, which they did, but just tag that definition.
I think it's cool being ambiguous the way it is.
Well, I think it's okay being ambiguous, but I think it would have been nice. Or do it again, or re-show that clip again, and then at the second go around, once you figure out.
But that's the thing. It's not supposed to be a concrete thing for sure.
Right.
We don't know that. We don't know.
Ambiguous.
It's ambiguous, and that's just kind of like something you have to know if you're like, if you kind of are knowing about like the Indonesian. Because I didn't know what that was. They don't say it in that specifically because they want it to be ambiguous. But if you look a little bit deeper into it, that's what people interpret it as. And one of the kind of themes that I noticed with this. And it kind of drained me in the sense, like mentally. There's this kind of constant theme of like hopelessness throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
So it's like no matter what you do, like it's inevitable. I think there was a point where they even said like something about destiny, like this is destined to happen or whatever happens, and it's just like no matter what's gonna happen, like this is the outcome, right? Like you were kind of doomed from the start, no matter what happened.
I think my favorite part, like for my closing thoughts of this movie, is that in terms of like possession horror films, it wasn't like, oh my god, everything's going wrong in the house and that's the whole movie. It's more of like, okay, she's acting weird, this is what we think's happening, and like they took the religious route of trying to heal that. And I think it being like it trying to be figured out through these different ceremonies and then that leading into the next thing. I think I liked that more than it just being like home surveillance, right? Like I preferred that, or I liked that style of like a possession film. I feel like you said, with all the symbolism, it just made it feel that much more important.
Exactly.
Just, like,
it's not just like
an easy watch.
It's not like a paranormal activity where it's like, it's like house haunting, like just possessed. Like there was a lot more substance.
Yeah,
to
it almost made it more creepy that like she was possessed, locked in the room. You don't know what to do with her. It's not like ooh, the chairs are moving. Like poltergeist.
Recommended. Maybe skip like the first 30 minutes.
just
watch the intro, then like skip like another 20 minutes and then just go from there.
I think, again, I still think, even with the other stuff, I think it's still really neat and cool that they added that. But again, as someone that, again, like Amanda had put and said, as a general audience member, and somebody, I mean, I enjoyed the deep stuff as much as anybody else, but I almost feel like, again, like, if you're not being very direct sometimes and not allowing us as an audience to maybe get most things, let's say most things, because I know sometimes you can't get everything in one watch, but if you can't get most things and some of that's maybe too ambiguous or you're like kind of really going around certain things, I don't know, just kind of it doesn't lead me to want to give it a more better rating than than a 6.5 or a 7. Again, I think it's a good movie, but there's a lot of things I didn't like, and again, the 2 or 3 things that I can nitpick about that I think make a huge difference. Again, like I can't think of a movie anywhere else where somebody that has no bearing on the movie the entire time makes that big of a drastic like change to the outcome, or rather not change, but like affects the movie that much. That just annoyed me a little bit.
So for me, I feel like I understand both points of view, right? Like I understand wanting to look deeper into the movie and stuff like that, and I understand wanting to be presented with more of the information. So this is kind of like a line that I kind of tread, right? Like I do enjoy both sides of the coin. I feel like if there's a little bit too much that I have to look into, then it kind of just loses it, right? So like an example that I can give is the movie Min that came out, I think a couple years ago. It's an A24 movie.
Oh, no, you lost me.
But essentially, so like, Min isn't the focus of this episode, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but essentially, like, the main point of the movie is not very well explained. Like, there's a very important character in the movie that they give no explanation to, and I didn't know who it was or what they were talking about until I looked it up later, and I was like, oh, now that I look it up and know what this thing is, it makes sense. So with that being said,
the movie was about Batman the entire time, but Batman wasn't in the movie. Like, that's what you're saying. That's exactly what you're telling me right now.
Isn't that Jason Goes to Hell? Some movies like Jason's not even in the movie at all.
So I feel if you enjoy, like wanting to look more into a movie and being, kind of a little bit more scared after the fact, right? Like
it wasn't more like you're scared. It was just kind of like.
I'm having more of an appreciation, right? Like after looking more into these kind of things, then I feel like this would pretty much be right up your alley, right? Like we get a lot of information, but some of it is left in ambiguity. Ambiguity.
and I wouldn't say like the movie like it's like the perfect movie, right? Obviously, like I do agree with like points like that and stuff like that. I do think the movie's way too long. I think they could have done the same thing without it, all this stuff. And you know, like no movie's perfect, right?
Right.
But
yeah, so if you like enjoy that kind of like looking more into it, I feel like this would be right up your alley. But if you just kind of want to watch a movie just to watch a movie, then this is definitely not going to be for
not
you.
even close.
Yeah.
It's an investment.
It is. It is an investment.
It really is.
Not probably as much as Skid Mark, or what's that movie called?
Skid Mark. Skidamaring. Oh, okay. Right. Skid Mark is one of my favorite movies.
You showed me that like the beat in the first like 15 minutes. I go, what is this?
I'm not even gonna lie. Hold up.
You showed me a picture of your undies.
No. Well, that too, man. Skidamaring is actually in my top favorite movies on Letterboxd. It's one of my top 4.
Let me see, what are the other ones? Hold on, let's see here. What is his top?
Oh, is that what didn't somebody...
Spirited Away! That's not even a horror movie!
It's not horror movies, this is all the movies.
Here, look.
All the movies that you like.
For the person who requested the letterbox.
Oh, our top 4s, right?
Yeah.
I hit something. You're buying a mattress. I don't know what happened.
My top 4 are The Strangers. That's my favorite movie of all time. Spirited Away, Requiem for a Dream, and Skidamaring. Those are my top 4 movies.
So the
Skid Mark.
so
Skid Mark. Imagine that shit.
I have to imagine that in my underwear.
We're gonna make a horror movie called Skid Mark. It's gonna be a parody of Skidamaring. It's gonna be like those weird shots. It's a weird shots of just people's skid marks from different angles.
So Adam, you have the next pick of the movie? What are we going to watch next?
Yes, I think it's going to be, is it The Strangers? Is that what that one is?
The Strangers Chapter 1?
Strangers Chapter 1, even though there's like 2 other chapters.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. I know it's going to be bad, but like...
What do you mean? Like bad as in not good?
Yeah. It's going to be not good at all. I can already see it.
I put money down that it actually will exceed expectations.
Okay, well, what are your expectations? So, like, compared to the first one? Or, like...
I think
it might be better than the second one, because the second one is it's really easy to beat that. Like...
I think it'll be good.
We'll see. I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Find out next time.
Yeah, so go ahead, join us next time where we go ahead and talk about The Strangers Chapter 1, and we'll see you there.